In the annals of history, some names whisper through time, chilling the blood, forcing us to confront the darkest corners of human experience. But few echo with the visceral terror of Frantz Schmidt. He was not a king, nor a conqueror, nor a tyrannical dictator. He was, in chilling simplicity, a man whose life's work was death, a man who, over 4 decades, would personally extinguish over 300 lives and brutalize countless others, becoming the most prolific and feared executioner medieval Europe had ever known. Imagine Nuremberg's 16th century, a bustling yet unforgiving city. Here, life was cheap and justice, a public spectacle. In this harsh landscape, a child named Frantz Schmidt was born into an inescapable destiny. His father, Heinrich, was the city's executioner, a profession both reviled and essential. It was a role passed down, not chosen, a hereditary curse that bound families to the grim rituals of state-sanctioned murder. Frantz, from his earliest years, witnessed the macabre ballad of the scaffold. He saw the axe fall, the noose tighten, the rack stretch. This wasn't merely observation, it was his education. He was not a natural-born sadist. History paints him as a man driven by duty, by the relentless current of tradition. At the tender age of 18, the mantle of executioner fell upon him, heavy with the weight of expectation and the smell of fresh blood. His first duty, a mere youth, was to oversee the hanging of a thief. Imagine the tremors in his hands, the knot in his stomach. But with each life taken, each sentence carried out, Frantz Schmidt became less of a boy and more of an instrument. He learned the precise angles, the necessary force, the swift, clean kill. He mastered the tools of his trade, the gleaming broadsword, the brutal breaking wheel, the strangling noose. He was meticulous, even academic, in his grim profession. Unlike many executioners of the era who were often illiterate, Frantz Schmidt kept a diary, a ledger of death, page after page. He recorded names, crimes, dates, and the precise method of their demise. This wasn't a confession, it was a testament, a chilling administrative record of a life spent in the service of death. His ascension wasn't a rise to power, but a descent into an abyss of human suffering, meticulously documented. The Grim Harvest, Methods of a Master of Death. Frantz Schmidt's career spanned 45 years, from 1573 to 1617. In that time, he personally oversaw 361 executions. Let that number sink in. 361 human lives, extinguished by his hand or under his direct command. But the sheer volume tells only half the story. It was the methods that truly cemented his terrifying reputation. Medieval justice was not about rehabilitation. It was about public spectacle, deterrence, and excruciating retribution. And Frantz Schmidt was its most skilled, most unfeeling practitioner. The sword was for the nobles, the more honorable death, a swift beheading. Frantz became renowned for his precision, a single, clean strike severing head from body. For common criminals, the rope awaited, a slow, agonizing suffocation that left bodies dangling as a grim warning. But for the truly heinous crimes, murder, banditry, witchcraft, heresy, the punishments escalated to a level of barbarity that still chills the modern soul. The breaking wheel, a torment designed to prolong agony, to shatter every bone in the body, limb by limb, before a final, merciful blow to the heart or neck. Frantz Schmidt administered this horrific ritual with cold efficiency, often in multiple stages over hours, ensuring every gasp, every scream, every bone-jarring crack was heard by the assembled masses, burning at the stake for witches and heretics, drowning for infanticide, quartering for treason. Each punishment was a carefully choreographed dance of death, and Frantz Schmidt was the lead dancer. He didn't just kill, he judged with his actions, delivering the state's ultimate condemnation through the language of pain. His logbook describes hanging a baker for theft, beheading a robber with the sword, breaking a sorcerer on the wheel, cold, clinical entries that betray nothing of the screams, the terror, the desperation of those final moments. To Frantz, it was a job, a duty, a necessary cleansing of society. The sheer volume of his work makes him not just an executioner, but a veritable artisan of death, shaping fate with axe and rope, leaving a landscape littered with the grim products of his craft. The administrator of Agony, a mind divided. What kind of man keeps such a detailed record of death? What mind can catalog every gallows, every beheading, every breaking wheel with such meticulous precision? Frantz Schmidt's diary, rediscovered centuries later, offers a chilling glimpse into the psyche of a man caught between his gruesome profession and an unexpected sense of moral justification. His entries weren't just facts. They sometimes included brief personal observations, even a touch of sympathy. He recorded a poor woman drowned for infanticide, noting her desperation. He mentioned a prisoner who confessed truthfully before his execution. These aren't the words of a soulless monster, but of a man who, despite his horrific duties, retained a sliver of humanity, or at least a need to compartmentalize his actions. Frantz saw himself not as a murderer, but as an indispensable servant of God and the state. He believed he was upholding divine and civic order. In an era saturated with religious fervor and fear of damnation, the executioner played a crucial role, purging evil, ensuring the salvation of the collective soul by removing the corrupt elements. This belief system, twisted as it may seem to us today, allowed him to sleep at night, to raise a family, to participate in his community, albeit from the periphery. His detailed records weren't just for administrative purposes. They were a form of self-justification, a means to prove his diligence, his adherence to the law. Each entry was a tiny affirmation that he was not an indiscriminate killer, but a dutiful executor of justice. This internal narrative, this desperate need for validation, is perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Frantz Schmidt. He wrestled with his role, sought to elevate it, to imbue it with purpose, even as it demanded the ultimate dehumanization of others. He was an administrator of agony, yes, but one who sought to find meaning in the horror. The paradoxical executioner, saint or sinner. Herein lies the most shocking paradox of Frantz Schmidt. A man who inflicted untold suffering, who presided over hundreds of deaths, saw himself not as an agent of evil, but as a moral force. He believed his work was righteous, even holy. This wasn't merely a convenient delusion. It was deeply ingrained in the societal fabric of the time. The executioner, though shunned, was essential. He was the sword of God, the hand of earthly law. Frantz, driven by this belief, even sought to perform acts of kindness within the confines of his brutal profession. His diary records instances where he advocated for lighter sentences for certain prisoners, or for more humane methods of execution when permissible. He sometimes comforted those on the scaffold, offering a prayer or a swift, clean death to alleviate prolonged suffering. These small acts, almost unimaginable given his primary role, reveal a man deeply conflicted, yet desperately clinging to a sense of virtue. He even performed a form of rudimentary first aid, treating the wounds of those subjected to lesser punishments, like flogging or ear cropping. Imagine, the same hands that wielded the broadsword also applied poultices, cleaned wounds, and offered a strange, grim comfort. He was a physician of sorts, but his cures often followed his torments. This duality is breathtaking in its horror and its complexity. He was both the wound and the balm, the terror and the strange, fleeting mercy. Upon his retirement, he dedicated himself to the practice of medicine. And in a final, shocking twist to his life story, he became an astonishingly prolific healer. Treating an estimated 15,000 patients, he applied the grim anatomical knowledge from his former profession in a desperate attempt to heal, rather than harm. But his ultimate ambition was complete social absolution. He petitioned the Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II, and in a remarkable turn of events, eventually received an imperial decree. This formal document absolved him and his family from the dishonorable stigma traditionally attached to the executioner's trade, restoring their full rights as citizens. He craved respectability, a legacy untainted by blood. He wanted to be remembered as a moral man, a just man, not merely the butcher. The shadow endures, a legacy of fear and fascination. Frantz Schmidt died in 1634, not on the scaffold, but in his bed at the age of 70. He was buried in a respected cemetery, a final, ironic twist to a life defined by public shame and private torment. But his story, far from being buried with him, continues to haunt us, a chilling echo from a brutal past. His diary, a macabre masterpiece, provides an unparalleled window into the workings of medieval justice, but more profoundly, into the human capacity for justification in the face of unspeakable acts. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that evil often wears the mask of duty, and that monstrous deeds can be performed by those who believe themselves righteous. The name Frantz Schmidt conjures images of dread, of screams echoing across cobblestone squares, of the cold glint of steel in the hands of a man who turned death into a lifelong career. He wasn't a cartoon villain, he was a product of his time, a man shaped by an unforgiving society and forced into a role that few could comprehend. His legacy is not one of glory, but of grim fascination. He stands as a chilling testament to the darkest side of medieval justice, a reminder of a time when the spectacle of suffering was entertainment, and the taking of life a public service. Centuries later, the shadow of Frantz Schmidt still falls across the pages of history, a haunting reflection of how one man embodied an era's capacity for both meticulous order and unimaginable cruelty, leaving behind a name that still whispers with the chilling resonance of blood.